and welcome to all those tuning in to day 5 of our virtual celebration week. We were determined to still celebrate the amazing achievements of our service users and carers this year, and although we couldn't run our usually vibrant and interactive celebration day in the usual format, we are very happy in being able to still bring it to the forefront and celebrate involvement across the Trust. I think more than anything we can see from this week that we can still find lots of positives during what has undoubtedly been an extremely challenging time for all of us. Supporting each other, having understanding and empathy for others, and listening to you, our service users and carers' fantastic ideas for improving our services really does inspire us to keep improving and not let the challenges of this pandemic beat us in our quest for improving the patient journey. For those who don't know me, I'm Ros. I'm the Involvement Facilitator for the Shropshire, Telford and Wrekin Care Group. I also support our team and the wider organisation with overarching involvement projects that are aimed to benefit the whole organisation and our service users and carers. I truly believe real involvement with our service users and carers can have very real and positive impact. I am certain that we learn the most when we stop to listen to those around us. In the world of involvement, this translates as listening to our service user and carer experience, as it informs everything that I do. I hope that by listening to this short video, it may inspire others to get involved and also inspire our staff to listen to experiences, but also actively engage in seeking out those experiences, as these can enthuse us and motivate us to work together, both staff and those people accessing our services, to improve that patient journey for others. We must always challenge ourselves to continue to listen and learn from those around us. Involvement projects come in all shapes and sizes, with no one greater than the other. Some projects have wide-reaching impacts that improve the experiences of many, and these are always hugely important to recognise and celebrate. For me personally, I am also keen to recognise the importance of the small individual successes within involvement. A happy day at work for me is when I can see that an individual has joined us to work together, feeling incredibly nervous and unsure, but from taking those initial steps to join us, they have found a voice, they have felt heard, and can see that their views and experiences really do matter. They matter to us a great deal. It only takes one voice to suggest one brilliant idea for positive change, and that voice comes in all shapes and sizes and is the voice of our service user and carer. We welcome everyone into our involvement family and look forward to celebrating more individual successes together, as well as those who have the more wide-reaching impact across our organisation. Okay, so that's enough about me, as we have lots of people wanting to talk to you today about their ideas for involvement. And of course, we have our Service User and Carer Awards to celebrate before we close this year's week-long celebration of involvement. We hope that you enjoy what we have in store for you today on day 5, our final day, and we thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our Inclusion Services colleagues and service users to talk to us about their Service User Representative programme. We hope you enjoy.
My name's Simon Davis. I'm the Gosport Inclusion Service User Rep Lead. I'm very passionate about service user involvement, partly because of my own journey as a service user in services for many years, and being involved as a service user rep during those years. So it's my passion to see other people come through and to gain the experience and skills that I was able to glean from my experiences. We've set up a number of forums in each hub, both across Hampshire, Buckinghamshire, Thurrock and Telford, so that service users can actually give their viewpoints as to what they would like to see happen in the hub and to give their feedback. We're very fortunate to have a regional South lead in Mark Poindexter that's very passionate about service user involvement. And along with Grace Massanuka, they've set up the National Forum. We wanted to make a series of videos to explain what we've been up to with service user involvement over the last couple of years or so. So we've set up local forums in each hub, so not just in Hampshire, but also Buckinghamshire, Telford and Thurrock, where service users can come and give feedback as to what's going on in their service and hopefully input into the service delivery and work in partnership with the inclusion staff there. This is then fed back into the governance meetings and hopefully dealt with locally, so that local issues are dealt with in-house. There's also regional meetings and national forum meetings as well. Previously they were in Stafford, the National Service User Rep Forums, but more recently have been online, and hopefully we've responded as an organisation to the current crisis by actually increasing the numbers of meetings and continuing to gain the feedback from service user reps and service users. We've also rolled out a series of training courses for the service user reps to help them gain the experience and skills that they need, looking at the history of service user involvement and also any barriers, and also looking at how to set up a successful forum, and looking at things like personal boundaries and and other ways to gain funding for other ventures, but also things like attending meetings, how to take minutes, how to chair a meeting, how to apply for funding for things like advocacy, if that's the road they wish to go down. So hopefully it's armed people with the skills and confidence to go into their roles, or to indeed to transfer those skills into the workplace should they wish to do so. So Mark Poindexter, regional lead South, has set up the National Forum with Grace Massanuka, and that has actually input into national strategy and national delivery on things like the Service User Charter. We've also had guest speakers from a range of different organisations, both within the trust and outside of the trust. So I hope you enjoy this series of interviews with service user rep leads and other vested interest parties, and I'll leave it there. I have with me today Leslie, who's come to join us. He's a long-standing member of the Service User Forum, and he's come and agreed to answer some questions. So Leslie, welcome.
Welcome, it's nice to be here.
So Leslie, so you've been a member for quite a number of months now, must be coming on for about a year. So what led you to get involved in service user involvement, and what keeps you involved?
I always had an interest in trying to be a little bit scientific about the way in which we got ourselves into the problems we got ourselves into. As a result of that, I've been talking to a lot of people and with staff and other users, and it seems quite useful to actually be involved on a slightly higher level than just turning up and going through the motions once every few days or whatever it is.
So yeah, i.e. I guess it's better to work in partnership. Do you think that that's something that Inclusion do well? Do they work in partnership with their clients?
I think so. I think increasingly they are becoming that way inclined. I think it's good that there is an encouragement to attract service certain people towards being service user representatives, in terms of getting them to help and getting them to think about the way in which they can contribute to the general improvement in the well-being of people, of the clients in general. That, of course, includes themselves, and it includes the people they talk to.
Yeah, excellent. And do you feel that you've been listened to?
Yes, on a number of occasions, I'm sure I've been listened to. Certainly within the user forum, everybody listens. We all listen to each other. But amongst other users who we meet in the groups, I think sometimes that is more difficult, but at the same time, you can contribute in that environment. And I have done on a number of occasions that sometimes it is better done on a sort of one-to-one basis, or in general conversation at a quiet time when you're able to talk to someone over a cup of coffee or whatever.
And with these occasions with staff, you said that you have felt listened to. Do you think that it's actually led to effective change on the ground and change in service delivery?
Well, I think it's an ongoing process of development, especially with the virus. The development of online groups and online communication has obviously had to take place because of circumstances. And I think it's meant everybody thinks a lot more, everyone's focused on actually trying to provide a forum for assistance in the way which replaces all the direct contact that used to take place.
Excellent. Thank you, Leslie, for joining us today, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you. Thanks for having me again.
I have with me today Tony Burkett, who's the volunteer coordinator for the Isle of Wight Inclusion Service. Welcome, Tony.
Hello.
So I've invited Tony here today because I know he's very passionate about service user involvement, both with the volunteers and the service user reps, and they have a thriving service user rep and volunteer programme over on the island, despite inclusion only being in place for some 18 months now. So Tony, why are you so passionate about service user involvement?
Well, I think it's really important because as a service, we need to know how we're doing, because it's the service user's service. And if we don't know how we're doing, then we can't adjust. Whether we're doing good, then we keep the stuff, or whether we're not doing so well in areas, then we can improve on that, providing we know where we're going wrong. And without the service user and service user rep involvement, we wouldn't have that information. So it's really important that we have things like Feedback Friday. The service users reps meet up and go off to the meetings and feedback how we're doing, and then that information can come to us. And also service user reps come into governance meetings and things. You know, we can actually then hear how we're doing, how other services are doing. We feel sort of unity then between other hubs and things like that, because we're hearing what they're up to. So I think with all that information that we get, then we can make the changes, whether we change for the good, and then anything we aren't getting quite right, then we can change that and improve our service for our service users ultimately. So my passion is based on that, and I've personally been involved in volunteering myself, so I've come sort of up through that channel. It was with a different company, and then when when inclusion took over on the Isle of Wight, and I see what they offered the service user reps and the volunteers, I was just gobsmacked, because it's such an amazing pathway, and to be part of that, and where I've sort of come from myself is an absolute honour, and I'm very, very passionate in being involved with that, and I'm very fortunate to be where I am at the moment, to see people grow and to see people move forward with their recovery and be part of our service. You know, they're part of our family, and ultimately that means we deliver a better service to our service users, which is amazing.
Yeah, and that's the aim, isn't it? So would you say you've seen an increase both in the quantity and perhaps even the quality of feedback, both through the forums and through carer opinion feedback, because of service user involvement?
Massively, yeah. I mean, we've got some really passionate service user reps who go above and beyond with getting that care opinion out there, getting the Feedback Friday up and running. And you know, they also do things like games and coffee and chill and chat really before the weekends. Yeah, so it's so important. And the people who want to get involved, you know, really early on in their recovery, you know, they see our service user reps and our volunteers, and they want to be involved in that. And the current service user reps we've got, they really get involved with the service user, and they bring them into that fold, and it's really good. And the passion and the commitment that they show to our service is something else. It really is.
Excellent. Yeah, and it's contagious, isn't it? That recovery is contagious, and they're positive role models for others to aspire to. I mean, what do you see the future for service user involvement within inclusion?
Well, I think the way it's taken off here, I think it's, you know, it's going to continue to grow, because there's already people who are sort of waiting. Obviously, the services are in a peculiar position at the moment with the sort of COVID stuff going on, and you know, the service is looking very different. But I know when sort of post-COVID is sort of, we're at that point where we can allow people to sort of get back involved, and we can open up for some groups and things. I know people are dying to get involved, and we will support them with that. And you know, our existing service user reps and volunteers will sort of support them in getting involved with us, and then we will support as well at the same time. And I mean, with regards to volunteers at the moment, I've had to sort of cap and put a few people on hold, because people just want to get involved with our service. They want to come and volunteer for us. And you know, the service user reps we've got, there's a couple who have just gone through the training online on Microsoft Teams, and they're ready to go. You know, and they're in constant contact with me, letting me know how they're doing and stuff. We'll be sort of looking at some group supervision or personal supervision as we move forward. So yeah, we're just itching to go, really. But yeah, it's so positive. And you know, I sat in on the training myself because I want to bring that to the Isle of Wight. So when we're up and running again, I'll be able to deliver that training over here, and get people involved with our service, get that feedback, get those care opinions, so we know what we can do to improve or what we're doing well, and grow on that. Yeah, so it's really, really good, and I'm excited to see where we go next. You know, because in 18 months of being inclusion on the Isle of Wight, the amount of changes and the amount of positive stuff we've done, it's really built our team and the people we work with in our service. It's amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, and it's really encouraging to see new service user reps on the online training recently, despite the fact that we've been under lockdown and a much reduced service face to face. So, you know, a testament to you guys over at Inclusion Isle of Wight for that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks for joining me today, Tony, and I wish you all the best with growing the service user rep community over on the island.
Thank you
very much.
Appreciated.
With us today, Mark Poindexter, Regional South Lead for Inclusion. And Mark has been integral into pushing forward the service user rep agenda, both nationally, regionally and locally. I'd like to ask Mark a few questions today. Welcome, Mark.
Hi, Simon. Thanks for having me.
Hi. So why are you so passionate about service user involvement? What led you to get involved in this?
I guess I started consulting really actively with service users in around 2001. I initially used to go, I had ran a consultation meeting in the service I was working in, and I initially used to go there and ask the service users to basically approve my ideas and approve the ideas of the team, and generally they did. And then I started to realise that wasn't really an appropriate use of consultation, and that really what we needed to do was to involve service users at the inception of new ideas, so that those ideas were still flexible enough for them to have a genuine impact. And through doing that, I found that the service user group got a whole bunch more engaged in their own treatment, and that they really did test our ideas and make them stronger. And so more recently, I've wanted to make sure that we try and do that systematically across the whole of inclusion, as opposed to simply having kind of pockets of excellence. And obviously yourself and the volunteer coordinators in Hampshire made a really big impact in helping us roll that out all across Hampshire and make sure it was happening. And now we've got the National Service User Forum, which we've had for probably about a year and a half, I think, and it's working quite well.
I understand that Steve Ellis initially set up in Hampshire the service user involvement mechanism as we have it now, the template, if you like. And we've tried to build on that in the last couple of years. And as you say, we've now got a national forum which feeds into national governance and hopefully has an impact on decision making at the highest level. Do you feel that we've truly achieved partnership working with our clients? Do you feel that the service user reps really are listened to and it's not just tokenism?
I do. I think we've achieved that in some cases, and in some places. I do think there's still quite a way to go, but certainly the forum we have is very vibrant. We've got a whole range of different types of lived experience in the forum, and people make a really genuine contribution to whatever we put in front of them. I think the real challenge is making sure that we put as much in front of them as possible in the right way. And whenever we give the representatives an opportunity to get genuinely involved in something, that they make an excellent contribution. But that takes time, it takes effort. It also takes an openness of mind in terms of bringing things to the forum that you are willing to change, as opposed to bringing things to the forum to say, hey guys, isn't this great?
Yes.
And we've worked really closely, such as with Michelle Perrin quite recently on some of the inclusion workbooks around non-opiates and so on, and people with a lived experience of recovering from an addiction to non-opiates have brought a whole another dimension and level to the amount of detail and quality of that work. So it definitely has an impact, and it's a question of how we can do that in as many different ways as possible across the organisation.
Off the top of my head, I can think of a number of different projects and initiatives that the reps have been involved in. So, for example, the Service User Charter, drug testing and alcohol testing, as well as getting involved in the workbooks, but also the future plans and the future strategy of the whole of inclusion. I know Danny Hames, head of inclusion, gets involved with the National Forum from time to time because he wants to check out his thinking and his ideas. He wants input from the service user reps into overarching strategy. Yeah.
I mean, something I should probably mention that I think is important about the forum is that we try to make sure that we have people with lived experience in a range of different specialist areas. And to make sure that that lived experience is communicated into whatever the relevant piece of development work is within inclusion. So, for example, if we're doing something around domestic violence and alcohol. We've got someone with a lived experience of those issues in that group. It's not a simple question of having a service user rep. It's about the right expertise in the right places. And I think that makes people feel really valued, and people generally want to use their experience to help others, and to help others to learn from the mistakes that they've made and the challenges that they've overcome. And so getting that getting the right expertise into the right places makes a massive difference to the success of what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, one size doesn't fit all, and we work with so many different types of client with a range of different issues. So yeah, I think that's really important, and that people with actual lived experience of that specific area should be consulted. Yeah, definitely. Do you think we've done enough under the lockdown and COVID period with actually responding to clients' needs and actually providing a basis for reps to continually be involved?
It's been challenging. I mean, when the lockdown first hit, we increased the frequency of our meetings and moved our meetings onto Teams, and we gave our reps quite a lot of technical support around how to access those meetings, and that's been successful. The forum is working well, although lots of our service users do have challenges in terms of accessing a reliable internet connection or the right hardware or the right software. But in addition to that, because the services are partially locked down or working under lockdown conditions, it's very difficult for the reps to be connected with other service users in their services. So things are quite challenging at the moment. The reps are really working with us and taking some creative solutions to that. They attend the online group work that we deliver and consult with service users in those forums. But it is quite difficult, and we currently don't have the same level of recovery community that we would normally have in our sites, and that is we really miss that.
So finally, what do you see as the future for service user involvement for inclusion?
Oh, the future of service user involvement for inclusion. I don't think we can consult and involve service users in everything. I think it's too time consuming, and you would lack the quality. But I think we want to try and involve them in all the critical areas of what we do, particularly in terms of the development of our treatment tools and formats, in terms of our psychosocial interventions pathway, in terms of how staff are trained and supported, and for reps in terms of making sure that they're properly trained, properly supported, and that where it's appropriate, there's a pathway through and into volunteering and potentially in paid work with inclusion. And I think in that way, I think we can bring a lot of benefit to MPFT, but also add value to the services locally, and really provide great opportunities for reps to progress and become empowered. It's partly about the feedback that the person gives. It's partly about the impact that they have in improving services, but it also is about the impact on them. When you're a drug and alcohol user, quite often you are not respected in your local community or in your family. And this process of listening to people and co-producing services with people is also has an indirect therapeutic benefit to them in terms of the validity of their opinion and the validity of their contribution. And for me, that's ultimately what it's all about, is seeing people get better.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. I have Sharon Unsworth with me, the service user rep for Winchester Inclusion.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you for joining us. So why did you get involved? What sort of spurred you to get involved with service user involvement, and what has it given you?
Right. I think initially I was invited when I saw a group of people sat around a table chatting. So I went along. I found it a very good point of contact for all of the people, all of the service users inside the building, and a good way of making new friends. It also allowed me to get to know the staff a bit better because they would jump into meetings per se. It was also very empowering in the fact that we were all together for one purpose, which was basically to get ourselves better. And I found that quite a powerful energy in the room, all working for one cause. I also like the fact that it didn't matter if some meetings you didn't want to talk because you weren't feeling that good. Just the fact that you were there was recognised. So there's no pressure put on you. It's also, social as well because, we bring in some food and a drink. The manager usually pops over and has a little chat, so that makes him more accessible, and you realise really that we're all there for one purpose, which is, to get better and for the staff, to aid us as much as they possibly can. So it was good, yeah.
So it sounds like you feel listened to.
Yeah.
Do you feel that inclusion work in partnerships with their clients? Do you feel that there's a real sort of partnership working?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I do, yeah, because it's then led me up to the regional and then the national, which is something you can take on when you become a service user rep.
Right. So that's just to clarify. So that's the regional service user rep forum and the national service user rep forum, which is, before lockdown was up in Stafford, but more recently has been online.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yeah.
You've represented inclusion and the clients at a number of different strategic level meetings. So not only have you been to the national forum up in Stafford, but you've also been to some strategic level meetings, some performance review meetings where actually inclusion senior staff meet up with Hampshire County Council representatives and Public Health England to see if they're actually attaining key performance indicators and doing what what the contract set out for them to do. So what's your experience been of these meetings, and have you felt listened to?
My experience for those meetings, again, yeah, I was invited. I've only actually been to 2 of those, and they're very, formal. But once again, I was dealing with Winchester City Council, and I just found them again very open, very much wanting to listen to what I had to say on the subject that was currently being discussed, and very transparent as well. Mm-hmm. So yes, and I think the team that I was present with definitely worked together. You could see that. So yes, and it's something that I possibly might like to go to more to. Definitely listen to. In fact, even asked my opinion in some stages. Yeah, so definitely, yeah.
And so you've had quite a lot of training that's been provided in your various roles, including as a service user rep. From inclusion. Has this helped support you in your role and give you the skills and confidence you've needed to actually carry out your role?
Yes, 100%, and it continues now, even though we're in lockdown. My supervisor's sending me new material to be trained on, so that you don't get in a rut. So you carry on, even in lockdown, which is excellent. Yeah. Loads of training, an abundance of training from certain areas as well, depending on what role I've dived into, I suppose. Yeah, taking a leap of faith. It's good for you as well on a personal level to be challenged in recovery all the time as well. But I can only speak for myself. I needed to be challenged, and definitely inclusion and the staff have challenged me. So yeah, I'm very grateful for that.
Excellent. So it sounds like you've had quite a diverse experience. So hopefully you've been supported at the same time as being challenged, and that balance has been approached in the right manner.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and I know now, you know that if I don't feel right, I just send my supervisor a text, or, I think at first, initially in recovery, and I think a lot of people would say this, you don't want to reach out as well for whatever reason. That's one of the biggest probably nuggets I've taken. It's okay to reach out to people and ask for help when you need it. So now I'm quite able.
Yeah, sounds like you've become more assertive as your recovery journey's gone on.
Well, I've been empowered, haven't I? Yeah. And also taught how to take ownership of myself, I suppose, but be balanced with it. Yeah, I've learned 100. I could write a book on it.
So do you feel that inclusion's done enough during lockdown to support service user reps and to support clients?
Yes, yeah, I do, but I do so with the knowledge that all the support is there for every service user or client, but it's up to you to take that step or to make it happen. Which was the same when we weren't in lockdown and, we were in the hub. It was up to you to go to that group, like it's up to you to go online, So I think inclusion as a service has tried its damnedest because, again, I go to the national, so I know, they're being rung weekly. No, you couldn't ask, I think brilliant. You've done all that you can do.
With me today, Tony Jones, who's a service user rep from the Isle of Wight. Welcome. So Tony has represented inclusion service users at a national, regional and local level, and he's been representing them for quite some time now. So he's well versed to give us a bit of information about what he's been up to and the difference it's made. So why did you get involved with service user involvement, and why are you so passionate about it?
I got involved in the service user program quite early on when I got involved with inclusion, and I've kind of seen it as an opportunity to kind of put my experience and the things that I've been through kind of into good practice. And I'm quite passionate about it because there's quite visible kind of results from the whole process that I've seen. Different groups been started. Different changes have been made to the whole service. As a direct response to service users' kind of thoughts and feelings. So
brilliant.
It's really nice.
Well, that's great to hear. So, do you feel that service users within inclusion are listened to, and that this has led to effective change on the ground?
Yeah, definitely. Some of the meetings that I've had with Feel Good Friday, we've had direct response from that. We started groups up within days, obviously going through stuff, and and that's the other thing. The staff are really receptive to the whole process. When you got them on board, then real good changes can be made and really quickly. And I feel like we've got a real good team behind that. So, and the service users benefit immediately.
Excellent. Well, that's good to hear that things are actually changing. Because what we don't like is tokenism here at Inclusion. We don't like to just tick boxes for the sake of ticking boxes. It's good to see that actually there's meaningful involvement, and all the way up the service user involvement ladder, right up to partnership working. Do you feel that you're working in partnership with the service? Have you been involved at every level?
I have been, yeah. So my involvement it spans from like on the local level. I run the meetings, I get people involved. But behind the scenes to that, obviously I'm organising, I'm speaking to the staff, I'm trying to arrange and kind of keep in with that feedback loop. So while I'm trying to get things going, I'm going back to the service users and, really making sure that everything that they need is kind of represented. And that goes all the way up to national level as well. I've been consulted on, we have been consulted as a group on different aspects of, outside organisations have been in to speak to us, like the eating disorders department from the hospital. They wanted to set up their own service user thing, but I've gone back to the service users and kind of brought their voice to the table. So yeah, they do get represented on every single level for sure.
Good. So it sounds like there's good communication between you guys and the service users and the staff, and that actually, not only do staff sit on the meetings, so that there's that two-way mechanism, but also you take things up to governance meetings, and then any decisions made you bring back to the forums. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. A lot of the times we do have decisions. We had involvement in writing the service user charter, and that spanned quite a few months of coming back to meetings on the island, kind of showing people, kind of getting a feel of how people felt about what was written down there, and taking it back up to people like Mark and whatever. And it was a lot of to and fro, and yeah, they're definitely involved there. We don't like tokenism, and I really don't get that feeling with Mark. He's really there to kind of make the service work for us, and not just the shareholders. Obviously, we're shareholders too, but not just the stockholders and people at the top end of the scale. So that's brilliant, yeah.
Brilliant, and it's great to hear that someone so high up in inclusion is really passionate about this stuff, because if someone high up at the head of the chain is really enthusiastic, then others follow suit, which is good to hear.
Well, even, there's people like Grace Massanuka, she's really passionate. She's been really lovely to work with, and, she's really encouraging, and, she's really nice to work with. Even up to Danny Haynes, I've been sat in, a hotel while we've been waiting to go into different meetings and stuff like that, and had really good chats with him, and he's really behind the process as well. So, the involvement from staff is from top to bottom. It's really awesome thing to see, yeah.
Fantastic. Good to hear that you've got a good relationship with Danny Hames, the head of inclusion. Fantastic. So, Tony, I understand you've had some training recently over the last year or so on service, how to support you in the service user rep role. Has that been useful, do you think, and given you the confidence and skills to carry out your role?
It really has bolstered a lot of my skills, and really kind of opened my eyes to what service user involvement really is. Looking into things like advocacy, how to actually represent people's views, and and to keep your own kind of personal opinion and your personal stance out of it, and just really look at what people want without being biased. That's kind of one of the main things I took from that. Really, it's about subtle, consistent change, and working well with your peers and the staff. It's about having a respectful, open relationship with people, and you don't get that by going in head first.
Brilliant, thank you, Tony. And just lastly, how do you see the future of service user involvement within inclusion and your part within it?
I hope that it grows, and and at least gets maintained at the level it is right now, because I've seen it grow over the past 2 years, and it's got to a really amazing place. And not a great deal that I would change about the process right now. All we need to do is just bolster it and just make sure that we keep getting that flow of new people into the service user rep position.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's the key, isn't it? It's getting the people that are passionate into that position, and just keep it going.
I'm here with Doug Thompson, who's a service user rep from the Buckinghamshire service, who's come with us to share his experiences of being involved as a rep. So welcome, Doug. So first of all, I just want to ask, why are you so passionate about service user involvement, and what led to you getting involved?
I spent 35 years in the madness, ill, basically. And the start of my treatment, which was obviously through one recovery, bucks and inclusion, it didn't give me my recovery. It shone a light on where I should be in life. And if I can give back something to someone and stop them from suffering the way that I suffered with for a long time, then it's made my journey worthwhile, and it's where I belong in life.
And do you feel that inclusion listens to you and listens to its service users?
Yes, I do. I mean, I'm new to it, but having sort of not long left the other side of the fence, I feel I have an awful lot to offer, from a sort of a raw experience. I think, once you've got a few years of sobriety or clean time and under your belt, you can become probably a bit disconnected from where it's actually happened. The sort of rawness and the remembrance of the pain has gone, and maybe a small piece of passion is gone. So I think for new blood to keep coming through the system is good.
Definitely. And do you feel that your viewpoints and the viewpoints of other reps and service users has led to effective change on the ground?
For me, being fairly new to it, I've put some points across from what I have noticed from where I'm sitting, and especially in today's climate with people being out there. And I know from my own personal experience, I've literally bumped into somebody who used to be my plumber, who's in a whole heap of pain and a sort of life's a mess. And thank you to sort of the system and my involvement with it, the guy's now back on track, and getting somewhere. So
fantastic.
Yes.
So do you feel that the training that you went through recently, the service user rep training, do you feel that that's given you the confidence and the skills to help in carrying out your role?
It's definitely given me a voice. It's helped me to feel like sort of somebody within sort of one recovery and inclusion, as opposed to just being someone that used to use. Yes, it definitely has.
Good, that's great. And what do you see as your evolving role in the future? Do you think you have a part to play going forward?
I hope so. I really do, because I would like to spend sort of my remaining years helping people not to be in the pain that I have been in since I was a child. I'm going to start studying psychology and counselling. That starts in October, and if I can maybe get to people before it becomes completely painful, that's really where I want to end up in life, is helping people with the pain, because generally with addiction, there's an underlying issue with all of us, and there's a common denominator. The drugs and the alcohol are just a byproduct of what we suffer with. So that's really where I want to be involved, is with the head.
Yeah, you have plenty to offer, and I wish you all the best in your ongoing journey. Thank you for joining us today, Doug.
Thank you.
Today I'm speaking to Karen Blair, who's a service user rep from Fareham Inclusion. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. I'm very glad you invited me.
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I just wanted to speak a little bit about your experiences of being involved as a service user rep and as a client with inclusion over the past couple of years or so. So what has service user rep involvement brought to your life?
What it's brought to my life is a feeling of being useful again.
Yeah.
And sitting in kind of reception before I was a service users rep, seeing people come in and taking note of how they were suffering, really the same as we all have suffered, and thinking, do you know what, I think I could maybe be some help to these people. Excuse me, I'm just going to close something that's come up. And maybe be of some help by sharing my experiences with them and giving those people somebody that's they feel they might be able to talk to, and their voice can be heard. They can, depending on the client, depending how forthcoming they are prepared to be, and it has given me an insight into how things work and how I can actually help people by maybe just guiding them, not enforcing my opinion or anything like that, just guiding them in the right direction, giving them somebody to talk to, and also encouraging them to speak about the groups and you know, the feedback, as we know, is very important. I took on the role and I took it on very, very gladly, because I think if I can just pass on experiences and how inclusion has helped me recover, and that's helped me recover as well, because I feel then I've got a responsibility to these people and I can't let them down, and I can't let the hub down, and I won't let Mark down, and I won't let you down. And so it's like a domino effect. And it's given me it's given me a focus, actually, and a purpose.
Excellent. And you talked about feedback there and gaining feedback from your fellows. And do you feel that inclusion takes that feedback seriously? And have you seen change happen as a result?
I think they do take it seriously. I think change can sometimes be slow, depending on the amount of feedback that inclusion is getting. But yes, I do believe, speaking for my hub, that yes, it is taken seriously and people are listened to. And I have experience of that, of making my feelings felt and being listened to. Kelly and Mark, you know, they have listened and acted on that. So yes, I do feel confident. Change, I think that takes time, doesn't it? To change things. And but yeah, no, I'm quite confident. I'm very confident in the involvement that Fareham has with its clients and listening to them.
So yeah, it does sound like Kelly Pickard, the manager of the Fareham Hubs, listened to you, and the same with your key worker Mark Whittington. Sounds like they have taken you seriously. They've helped to nurture your experience. But as you say, change can sometimes be quite a long process, and things don't necessarily change overnight. But have there been any examples where the forum has come up with, or clients have come up with a proposal for change, and you've actually seen the results of that in the hub?
I think that groups have been tweaked.
Prior to lockdown, you'd started to attend the Hampshire Regional Forum, where obviously the 9 hubs across Hampshire inclusion come together as a rep from hubs. However, that is still continuing online, and you have been an active member of the online groups. Do you feel inclusion have done enough during this lockdown period, where the hubs haven't been open in the same way for face-to-face interventions? Have we done enough to cater for the clients?
Absolutely. I think in general, the people I've spoken to, especially at Horizon, who go to different kinds of groups in different kinds of areas, because of course we've come together with Gosport, haven't we? I think that Inclusion has done the best they could possibly do under the circumstances. And I haven't heard anything from anybody that says, well, there's not enough for me to attend, or there's not enough. I think there's plenty out there if people want to avail themselves of it. So I would say that, yeah, Inclusion's done a really great job there.
So just for the purposes of letting the viewer know what we're talking about. So Karen's explaining different groups online. So the Horizon group is a group that is for people who are now abstinent, who are looking at the next steps. That's an online support group facilitated by a recovery worker. And the Service User Rep Forum is a forum where people come together to give feedback, and hopefully we look at improving the service. And Karen's an active member of both the local Gosport and Fareham forum as well as the regional forum, and has even come to the national forum as well. And I understand that you've had some training recently to try and help support you in your role as a service user rep of Fareham. Has this helped you, do you think? And has this given you the confidence and skills to carry out your role?
It has helped me a lot, because I now understand how the whole thing works from a higher level. Yeah. So I understand now where I can go to get help with my role, organisations that I can call on, organisations where funding is required, or things like that. So I understand that there's much more to the role than I first thought because of that training. I don't think I'll fulfil the whole thing entirely.
Oh, that's the beauty of it. You can do as little or as much as you want to do.
That's right, and that's helped, because that takes a little bit of oh, have I got to do all that, and I've got to do all that, and then the worry starts, but and it has given me more confidence, because when things do get back, if one day they will get back to groups opening up, I will have the confidence to sit in reception and see people that need to, who're sitting there all nervous and don't know what to do, and it's maybe their first one-to-one with a key worker or whatever. And instead of thinking, oh, shall I or shan't I approach that person, I feel more confident now in knowing what I'm talking about. Definitely has helped me, and I'm glad I've done it. I'm really glad I've done it, because it's given me, definitely given me more confidence and more knowledge of what I'm supposed to be doing.
Brilliant. That's music to my ears, Karen. And thank you so much for joining us today. And I wish you all the best in your ongoing journey.
Thank you. And thank you for the help and support that you've given me through the meetings and through the training. And I appreciate it. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you. That really was inspiring stuff, and we hope that we will be able to hear more from our inclusion services later in the programme today. So on with the programme for now, and next up, something for us all to enjoy. Time to celebrate our service user and carers' achievements for this year with our Service User and Carer Awards.
Welcome to the Involvement for Impact Service User and Carer Awards 2020. This is a special year for the awards. It isn't a competition, as we want to recognise all the contributions and achievements of patients, service users, carers and volunteers through their involvement during this difficult time. This year everyone's a winner. Kaylee Armstrong receives an award for overcoming many personal challenges to recover her mental health and for being an inspiration to others, supporting their recovery through sharing her lived experience. Robert Langley is awarded in recognition of his involvement with the provision of a mobile needle exchange in the community. His commitment throughout the COVID-19 pandemic has been key to the support and safety of some of the most vulnerable clients of the service. Tim Anderson is awarded for his commitment to volunteering for Telford Stars. He uses his experience to be an advocate for service users, providing invaluable support for recovery during this challenging time. Matty Boyce receives an award for his commitment to volunteering in the service for over 2 years. Matty is motivated and proactive, changing the lives of service users every day and inspiring them with his story of overcoming adversity. Naomi Coxon is awarded for successfully completing an Arts for Wellbeing programme, which is a visual arts group, and this is despite of it being virtual. She has also worked hard on other arts activities throughout the COVID period, and this is her self-portrait. Shona Logue receives an award as she has worked well with services during a difficult period in her life. She has completed an Arts for Wellbeing programme and has been very kind and helpful to other service users in the group, sharing her experiences. This is her picture of a lighthouse. Shelley Gould receives an award as she has created artwork which has been used on the Trust Twitter page in Learning Disabilities Week and for use in services. She's also attended the Arts for Wellbeing group and encouraged others to create art for their wellbeing. This is one of her colourful pictures. A mental health pathway service user is awarded for the achievement of graduating from the intensive life skills pathway to successfully secure a job as a healthcare assistant at Royal Shrewsbury Hospital. She rose to the challenge of maintaining her mental health while providing end-of-life care during the height of the COVID-19 crisis. Brian Derber receives an award for being an inspiration to others. He shared his patient's story at a meeting of the Trust Board, despite the loss of his speech due to motor neurone disease. He used a communication aid with his own banked voice, and his demonstration of the aid led to offers of funds to help other people in Brian's position. Veronica Gomez, Adam Phelan, Rob Langley and Diane Hughes were nominated for being an amazing bunch of individuals who've gone above and beyond to help clients of substance misuse services through the lockdown. These volunteers have shown impressive commitment to the service and welfare of others and deserve recognition. Shannon Pemberton receives an award for sharing her positive experience of becoming a young parent with the support of the Targeted Young Parents programme provided by the Health Visiting Service. Shannon's inspiring story has been shared with health visitors, commissioners and the Trust Board. A service user in custody receives an award for providing support to other prisoners as a Samaritan's listener and recovery champion. He has undertaken training to educate himself and help his peers, and shares his own experience of the challenges of overcoming addiction to help others in their recovery. Olivia Slowly is awarded for providing the insider view as a service user in the recruitment of a peer worker for the service. It took courage to take part, and she's made an important contribution so that a candidate with the right qualities could be appointed. Ben Sturgis receives an award as he has made a significant impact on the service through volunteering. Ben has used his own life experiences and knowledge to support service users in their recovery. Caroline Jones receives an award for her contribution to services through volunteering. Her support of open access, therapy groups and the women's group has been invaluable to service users and has earned the respect of the team. A volunteer for Inclusion Andover receives an award for her contribution to services as a recovery worker. The recipient uses her life experiences, knowledge and skills to support clients' own treatment journeys and exemplifies to her peers that recovery is possible no matter how long addiction has been a part of your life. Emma Groves receives an award for volunteering in the service and consistently showing commitment and innovation in her work. She has demonstrated care and compassion for people accessing services throughout the challenges posed by COVID-19. Kevin Ware is awarded for volunteering in the service and building effective relationships with service users to help them towards recovery. Kevin shows great empathy with the service users, and during the challenge of COVID-19 he's gone above and beyond to support them. Mike Talbot is awarded for showing dedication to volunteering and supporting service users on their road to recovery over a number of years. During COVID-19, Mike has made a massive impact with supporting both the service users and his colleagues in the team. Preston Wareham receives an award for showing dedication to volunteering and supporting service users on their road to recovery. Preston has come through the inclusion service himself, and as a result keeps the service user journey at the heart of his volunteering. Sue Muffet receives an award for her commitment to volunteering, having worked in the service over the past few years, offering service users consistent and compassionate guidance and support. Terry Field receives an award for volunteering and supporting service users in their recovery. During COVID-19, Terry has been a dependable member of the team. He is to be commended for his own development now that he has achieved the qualification of NVQ Level 2 in Health and Social Care. Lindsay Adams. Lindsay is awarded for her contribution to the Recovery College in her role as a trainer with lived experience. Hearing about her recovery journey has inspired hope in others. Yvonne Kennington. Yvonne is awarded for the personal development she has achieved through her inspiring perseverance towards recovery. Her past experiences have motivated her to help others attending women's groups. A service user of speech and language therapy in learning disability services is awarded for listening and engaging with services by undergoing a communication assessment by video call offered due to COVID-19 restrictions. The therapist felt that cooperating so well in this strange situation should be celebrated. Diane Hughes receives an award as she has shown an inspiring level of commitment to volunteering for the service. This has been particularly evident during the COVID-19 pandemic. Diane uses her experience to provide a frontline service which is friendly, non-judgmental and empathetic. A forensic service user in learning disability services receives an award for overcoming some of the problems he has experienced and for working towards personal development while an inpatient. He inputs into his own care and is contributing to his recovery by challenging his own difficulties. 3 service users receive awards for their participation and involvement while inpatients in the Forensic Mental Health Service. Their achievements include facilitating groups, advocating for others, organising tasks, offering support to new patients and other service users in need of a listening ear, and training as trainers in the Learning for Recovery programme. Harriet Billow is awarded for effectively representing the service user perspective in the recruitment process for the appointment of a psychologist for the Community Interventions Pathway in mental health. Kelly Grimwood is awarded for her contribution as a service user rep, which has been significant in helping others to get involved in the role and to feel that they are making a difference. She has had a positive impact on the well-being of clients using the service. Tony Jones. Tony receives an award for his contribution to the continued development of the Service User Representative Initiative in inclusion. He leads service user forums to feed back into services and has helped to plan strategy up to a national level. Sharon Unsworth is awarded for her support for service user involvement and volunteers her time to promote it since her own recovery. She shares her knowledge and experience to help others and has been involved in the setting up and running of women's recovery groups. So that brings our Involvement for Impact Awards 2020 to a conclusion. Congratulations! A big thank you to all the recipients for your contributions and achievements.
How brilliant! So many fantastic achievements from our service users and carers, and really, really great to share in those today and celebrate with them. I'd now like to welcome our Managing Director for the Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent Care Group, Jennie Collier. Over to you.
Hello, I'm Jennie Collier and I have the privilege of being Managing Director across Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent Care Group. So I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about the Care Group. So explain to you about some of the services that we offer. I'm going to touch on kind of our priorities and how we're working as a care group, and then talk a little bit about the work that we've been doing in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. So to start off with, a bit about us as a care group and the leadership team. So we are a large care group, so nearly half of the organisation sits within Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. We've got about 4,000 staff within the care group. We manage effectively the community services, adult community services across Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent, and the mental health services, which are predominantly in the south of the county, although we do have some services in the north, and then our social care portfolio. And we serve a population of 1.1 million people across Staffordshire, and last financial year we supported over 275,000 people across all of our services in Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. So the leadership team for the care group obviously consists of myself, and then there are two heads of operations, so Lisa Regel and Adam McEwen, and then the two deputy directors of social care who work both jointly to myself and Jo Coucher as director of social care. So that's Mark Cardwell and Pauline Bonner, and we are supported as a leadership team by our colleagues across corporate services. So we have roles within the care group around business and service development support, finance, workforce, communications, and we have a range of clinical and professional leads that also support the care group leadership team. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the care group and how we're structured. So we have basically configured the services into 4 different portfolios, and I'll be at pains to say this is basically a mechanism by which we operationally line manage the services, but we very much see them as working in a matrix, so across those portfolios, and it's not a neat split in terms of how services are divided up. For example, planned and unplanned, I do talk about it's a continuum between one and the other, and there's no neat divide in the middle about where unplanned care becomes planned or vice versa. So there's the 4 portfolios. The first is mental health, then we have our unplanned community services, our planned community services, and then our social care portfolio. So across mental health services, we've got our community mental health provision. So that's providing support to people in their communities. We've got our inpatient services at St George's Hospital. We've got our crisis home treatment services and our access functions. So they are the main routes by which people come into mental health services, along with our improving access to psychological therapies. So our IAPT health and wellbeing services, they operate across the county, and they are delivered in partnership with North Staff's Combined Healthcare and voluntary sector partners as well. And then we have our dementia and memory services and our liaison teams that work into the acute hospitals in the south of the county. Then on to our community portfolio. So for planned care, a large proportion of that portfolio is our community nursing services, and I do absolutely see them as the backbone of community provision, and the people that they connect with, and they pull in the services to support the individuals that they work with. And then alongside that, we have our AHP services, so things like physio and MSK, so musculoskeletal services, our long-term conditions teams, so things like heart failure, diabetes services. I touched on AHPs, but we've got our speech and language therapy teams, our occupational therapy teams, and then we've also got our specialist services that support those areas, so things like tissue viability, our continence services, and our palliative care teams as well. And those services, that specialist services, function and support both across planned and unplanned portfolio. Then we have our our unplanned portfolio. So that consists of our Home First services, and Home First is a effectively integrated service provision across health and social care. So that consists of our reablement service provision, our therapy input, and our social care and nursing teams that wrap around those services. They are slightly different north and south. So in the south, the intermediate care portfolio sits in planned care, but those services do operate in an integrated way. Then we have Hayward Hospital. So we have inpatient services at Hayward Hospital. So our rehabilitation beds that support both people that are discharged for hospital or those that may need to come into hospital for a level of rehabilitation or support to avoid them needing admission into an acute hospital. We have our specialist rehab functions, so Sneed Ward, who provides stroke rehabilitation, and Broadfield, which is a neuro rehab ward. And then our urgent care services, so the walk-in centre at Hayward Hospital and the minor injuries unit at Leek Hospital. And we also have at Hayward Hospital some specialist services, so our rheumatology services, services such as limb fitting, pain management. It's a real specialist centre in terms of rehabilitation. And within unplanned care, we also have our 2 track and triage teams that work in conjunction with our acute hospitals to support people being discharged from hospital. And then we have our social care portfolio, and social care is split up into mental health and older people and physical disability services. So mental health services are very much integrated in with our community mental health provision. And then our older people and physical disability services, we have the discharge teams that are embedded in Home First and track and triage and support people being discharged from hospital, and our assessment and case management teams that support people in the community. And then we do have some other specialist services, so things like physical health psychology that support and provide psychological input to physical health care pathways. So that may be people on specialist treatment pathways, those people on cancer pathways that need a level of psychological support. We have some smaller specialist teams, so rehab teams, our asylum seekers service. And then we also manage 8 community libraries across Staffordshire. So very much in conjunction with the volunteers across those services, we support the delivery of those community libraries, and it's a service that we're very proud of, and a service that won a HSJ, so Health Service Journal Award last year, in recognition of the work they've done. And I think the opportunities it gives us to look at how we support our communities across health and social care in a different way. So in terms of our priorities as a care group, we set 4 priorities as part of our business plan this year. So the first very much links into our mission as an organisation and is really about improving population health. So really understanding what are the needs of our population and what are we doing in terms of supporting people to stay well and prevent people from becoming ill. And we've done a lot of work in thinking about how we understand the population. So in terms of the architecture across the system, we have what are called primary care networks. So these are relatively new networks, but basically bring together primary care across a neighbourhood, so a geographical place-based area, to think about the service and provide services at that locality level. And we've wrapped our community services around those primary care networks. And as part of that, we've done a lot of work on developing a model, so the Living Well model, to understand what are the needs of our population, so we can look at that either a general practice population or across the primary care network. So understanding those people in our communities that are living well, those people that may have long-term conditions but they manage those long-term conditions and are staying doing well, through to those that are deteriorating or unstable, and then deteriorating right through to end of life. So thinking about how are we planning for end of life and how we are configuring our services to respond to that. And that's really given us a mechanism to understand where is our service provision focused, and unsurprisingly, it tends to be at the end of where people are unstable, deteriorating, and end of life. We don't necessarily have the preventative services in place. And we launched last year the Staying Well service in the south of the county, which is a partnership model. It's run across ourselves, with our acute partners, with voluntary sector input, with primary care input, to really support those people with frailty that are real moderate frailty, so wouldn't necessarily be unstable or deteriorating, where we've got an opportunity to assess people and really think about what their needs are now, what their needs might be in the future, and how we support better case management and planning to support them into the future. But it's also thinking about how are we supporting individuals at a holistic level, how in all of our services are we looking at the total needs of a person in terms of supporting their health and well-being, and configuring our services and pulling in services to support that, and also looking at how we can prevent people from becoming ill. So it's a real focus in terms of thinking about how we improve our population health and really understand what the needs of our population are, given how diverse Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent is and the population we serve. Our second priority was around effective partnerships, and I've touched a little bit on the primary care networks, but I really see as MPFT and as a care group we have a real opportunity to think about how we connect services both within the organisation but also outside of the organisation. So having that key focus on building effective partnerships. And it is really in terms of looking at working relationships with our acute sector partners, how we join pathways up, our primary care colleagues, working with our local authorities in Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent, our voluntary sector partners, local communities, and areas such as the ambulance service. And I do see us having a key role building those relationships that enable us to join up care. Our third priority was around continuous improvement. So how do we ensure that we're continuing to improve across our services, that we're really supporting innovation and new ways of working, and really embedding lean across our services. So our quality improvement methodology is being embedded across the care group. We've had lots of people trained in our quality improvement. I'm seeing more and more that being embedded in practice. So really think about how we remove waste from the system in terms of how we operate, and how everything we do is absolutely value added in terms of the people and the population that we serve, and really sustaining that ethos in terms of that continuous improvement cycle of plan, do, study, act. So we try things, we evaluate or not whether it's work. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. We might tweak things and then test them, and that we keep on that cycle of continuous improvement, and that people feel that they're able to innovate and have the safe space to do that, and that we're constantly learning. So we do work in a challenging environment. There's a lot of ambiguity around services. We deal with a lot of complexity. So it's absolutely crucial that we learn as a care group and as an organisation in terms of how we approach that. And then finally, our fourth priority is our day-to-day requirements. So making sure we provide safe, effective, good quality services to the people that we serve, that we're able to manage our resource effectively. We deliver on our financial plans, whether that be for the care group and the organisation, but also supporting financial improvements across the health and social care system. So I'll touch a little bit in terms of the ethos and our ways of working. So first and foremost, I see us all as public servants. We're here to serve our population of Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent, and I really believe we should be held to account by the people we serve, whether it's those people who are accessing services, but also through our staff, who I do see the guardians of good care in terms of knowing and understanding the experiences of people who use our services. And I very much want staff to be able to hold us to account as a leadership team in terms of how we're supporting and enabling the delivery of good care. I think, it's very important in terms of, I've touched on that system working and building effective relationships. We've talked a lot about integration of services, and I see that very much. This is about how we join up services up, and that all comes down to building individual relationships with people, having conversations, being able to communicate, coordinate the care that we need. So having that real focus on not just what our services delivering within the care group and how we connect services across the care group, but how we connect into the wider system and work with, be it our primary care networks, our communities, our other partners, to be able to improve the pathways and the service offer for the population of Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. For me, it's really important that we create a space where staff feel valued and well supportive. We know all the evidence is that where we've got a workforce that feel valued, feel supported, feel safe, that they deliver better care to the people that we serve. So it's important for me as a leadership team, we create the climate that enables that to happen. And we also create that safe space. So psychological safety and being, able to have a safe space to be at work really supports innovation and improvement across services. So it's important, again, that we create the climate and the ways of working that enable that to happen. And I suppose the other thing is just in terms of thinking about that accountability and what we're delivering, that, that the services that we provide, that they absolutely deliver the right outcomes for the people that we serve. I was born in Staffordshire. I had to go around the world to realise that I actually really love Staffordshire, and I have returned here. All my family are in Staffordshire, and for me the ultimate test is, what are we doing? Is it good enough for me? Is it good enough for my family? Is it good enough for my neighbours? And sometimes we don't get it right, and I think we have a real opportunity to build improvements across health and social care to really deliver a brilliant health and social care system for the population of Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent. So finally, I'm going to touch on COVID-19 and how we've responded through COVID-19. So I'd say I don't think it's anything we've ever experienced before. I think it really put health and social care services to the test, but I think really demonstrated how we're able to respond. And actually, we saw some great joint working taking place across services, whether that be within the organisation, but also with our partners across the system. We were able to mobilise new services, to change services at pace, and I've seen a huge amount of innovation coming out through COVID-19. So I think every cloud does have a silver lining, and I think it really gave people the freedom to do things differently and try different things. And I think it's also made us put that real spotlight on supporting the health and well-being of our staff, but also, given the kind of learning we're getting through COVID, the inequalities that we've got across our population and how we have that focus in terms of addressing health inequalities. So I really hope through this week you'll see some of the work that's taken place through COVID-19. I've seen so many examples across our services of really good practice, lots of innovation, work that's taken place with the people that use our services, how we're able to deliver pathways and care differently. And I think we've got an opportunity to continue to build on that. So I really hope you enjoy seeing the examples of the work that our services have done in response to COVID-19.
Thanks, Jenny. That was really good and really helpful to hear from you today. We're now going to head back to our Inclusion Services team, who will talk to you a little more about their Service User Representative Programme.
Coordinator and the Service User Rep Lead for the Isle of Wight Inclusion Hub. With me, I've got Tony Jones, who is one of our long-standing service user reps. He engages at a national, regional and local level within the service. Hello, Tony.
Hi, Tony. How's it going?
Yeah, really well, thank you. Thank you for your time today for the Involvement Awards. So as a long-term service user rep, could you tell me what made you want to be a service user rep, and also share with us some of the things that you've been involved with in your role?
Okay, well, yeah, well, getting involved with the service user rep program, it seemed like a really natural kind of progression to move on to with from my recovery and the work I've been doing here. You know, it's nice to get my teeth into something and start learning some new skills and kind of getting involved with inclusion in, you know, on a deeper kind of level. Yeah, which has led me on to have some really great experiences and, you know, involvement with inclusion on many different levels. Yeah, from like the local level meetings we have at the hub with the service users to the regional and the national meetings that we go away for. And yeah, no, it's been really good, and yeah, I've really learned a lot from it over the past year or so much.
Brilliant stuff. And what sort of things have you been involved with, Tony, since you've been doing what you're doing?
So, well, on a local level, I've been involved in, well, like I say, running the meetings, and, you know, as a direct result of that, we've been involved in setting up groups, kind of, you know, advocating for some of the service users, you know, trying to get their point across and trying to help them kind of understand more about what's going on within the service. You know, well, since I've been involved, we've completely filled up the group timetable. Obviously, COVID's had a major effect on how we deliver that now. But again, yeah.
And how do you feel that COVID may have impacted our service users and service?
Well, I think it's had quite a big impact, you know, on mental health and stuff like that. I think a lot of people are missing the connection that you get from within the hub. That visible recovery you get from each other. I don't know, it's like a little family, isn't it? You know, everyone gets in, we're all chatting to each other, you know, and we've all been through the same journey essentially, and it's just nice to see different people at different levels, you know, with all the little problems and stuff that still comes through, but, you know, people have found ways of getting through that. And it's nice to be able to share that with people on a personal level.
Certainly. And, yeah, that's fantastic. So do you feel that inclusion work in partnership with their service users?
Definitely. And like I say, like back to things I've been involved with, like, you know, we've been consulted on a national level on a number of occasions on very, like, you know, hot topics for inclusion. And some outside organisations, you know, they've seen how we work and, you know, that it does work. They're even coming to kind of get advice and see how they want to set up their own service user programs, which has been, yeah, it's been quite interesting. But yeah, inclusion definitely listens to the service users, and I've seen it work directly in our local hub here on the Isle of Wight. Definitely.
Well, you've been involved with an awful lot with in our service, setting up things, and you know you've been outstanding with what the work you've been doing. So, what do you think for the future, Tony? How could this role evolve? Do you feel?
Well, in the future, well, maybe not so much like locally, but, you know, it's just trying to get more involvement from like between the management and the service user reps at some of the other hubs. You know, I'm quite fortunate here on the Isle of Wight. I'm really well supported and listened to, and the things that come up, you know, we get some really decent actions from it. But yeah, I'd just like to see more people get involved, and just to see more managers realise the kind of benefits of having a successful service user program running within the hub. I think we'll see a lot of improvement through that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great to hear, mate. All right, Tony. Thank you very much for your time today. It's really appreciated, and I look forward to seeing where you go next on your journey.
Brilliant. Thanks very much, Tony.
Okay, take care. Thank you, Tony.
Cheers, bye.
Coordinator and the Service User Rep Lead for the Isle of Wight Inclusion Hub. Today I'm joined by Jade. Hello, Jade.
Hello.
Hi. So Jade is our newest service user rep, and just really wanted to sort of have a chat, Jade, with you, if that's possible. So you're probably very busy, but thank you for giving us a bit of your time just to have a chat. So can you tell us a little bit about where you're at with your service user rep role, and how come you've decided to sort of join that and be part of that?
Where I'm at with it, it's been a bit hard because obviously I sort of was thinking about it just before the lockdown, and then the lockdown happened, but I've really enjoyed the service user training and stuff, and I'm looking forward to doing a bit more, being more active with the service user rep role. And what got me into it was, I don't know, it was just being at inclusion, and you see all these other people that were doing the service user role as well, and it just looked really interesting, and the fact that they're helping other people, because I know when I first came in, I was really anxious and I didn't really know if I wasn't happy about something, who to speak to. So it's just to sort of be that sort of role where if someone has got a problem, they can talk to me and not feel anxious about, going to sort of staff member. It's just, and in the future, I always wanted to do mental health. I knew that, but since being at inclusion, I've really thought about wanting to become a recovery worker as well. So I know that would be a good little stepping stone to get there in the future, really.
Yeah, it certainly will. So you mentioned some training. Could you just sort of talk to me a little bit about what that was and who it was with?
I think it was Steve, wasn't it? What's his name?
Simon, was it?
Simon, that's it.
Simon.
And
Simon Davis from Gosport.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a 6-session, sort of just telling you about what your role's going to be and what you're expected and what you can and can't do, what's okay. And it was really interesting, and it made me realise there was a lot more to the service user rep role than I originally thought, actually. And I learned a lot, and it was sort of refreshing because I used to do something like that before, and so some of it I do remember, and it was nice to have a little refresher on and stuff like that, and knowing what is expected.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it sounds like you got lots of plans and lots of exciting stuff ahead of you. I've been a few times, and I've known you since you've sort of been with the service, and I'm really pleased that you're becoming part of our service user rep team. And I look forward to seeing where your journey takes you next. I'm glad
it's exciting.
And obviously with the pandemic currently, it makes things very different within our hub. And for you to still come on board even during that, get yourself some training of us, and it shows a real commitment already from you, and it's it's an absolute pleasure to have you on board with us. And I look forward to seeing what you do and what you get up to next.
Yeah, it's been quite impressive actually how everyone's sort of come together through the COVID thing. I think inclusion have really sort of, and AA, everyone sort of have spread out to try and help people. So it's been good. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's like that common peril, isn't it? And we're all supporting each other in doing the best we can with what we've got. But like I say, I'm really, really excited to have you on board with our service user reps. Look forward to getting you involved with some of our training and some supervision and some support. Getting back to some sort of normality.
Yeah, it's good to have something to motivate you as well, and it's given me kind of motivation to feel like I'm doing something important. So it's good.
You'll be invaluable to our service, and we really appreciate you giving us some of your time. It's really, really kind of you. Okay, thank you for that then, Jade. That's really, really good. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you very much.
I will. You too.
Okay, cheers then.
Well, what a great 5th and final day of our celebration week. I'm so pleased to have been able to share this week with everyone, and hope that it inspires our staff to engage and involve our service users and carers, and also inspires those service users and carers to join us by registering for involvement. We look forward to hearing from you. For now, all that remains for me is to hand over to our closing speakers who will offer some final thoughts for this week. Enjoy and thanks for listening. Take care.
Thank you for joining us today, and congratulations to all of those who were nominated, and an extra special congratulations to the winners. Everything that you do is an inspiration to us all, and I'd like to thank you for your contribution and what you have done for the Trust, especially during these very difficult times.
Hello, I'm Liz Lockett, Executive Director of Quality and Clinical Performance, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's contributed to and joined us during this week of celebrations. Despite the current climate, we've continued to engage and involve people who use our services with many activities, such as interviewing and recruiting new staff, taking part in focus groups, consulting on strategies, policies and patient information, and much, much more. Thank you to everyone who's made this possible. In particular, I'd like to thank patients, service users, carers, families, volunteers and peer support workers who've worked with us to make our services the best that they can be, and to our staff who've continued to support them through these extremely challenging times. The link mpft.live/SUC 2020 will continue to be available, so please encourage people to continue to celebrate beyond this week. Thank you.
On behalf of the involvement team, I'd like to say a big thank you to everybody who has taken part and got involved this celebration week. We know it's been a little bit different from what we normally do, but we hope you've all thoroughly enjoyed it. So big thank you to all of our service users, carers and staff for getting involved. Also, congratulations again to all of our award winners, and a special mention to Mike Brooks, who has co-chaired the event this week and also who has shared his amazing story. Thank you, Mike. So we'll see you all soon. Take care and stay safe.